Hi everyone, I'm FM Greeno and welcome along to Season 2, Episode 1 of Better Than Eddie. Now you may remember this was originally supposed to just be a one season save where we tried to outdo Eddie Howe and keep Bournemouth in the Premier League. But we far exceeded that, exceeded my own expectations, exceeded the expectations within the game, and finished 5th in the Premier League, qualifying Bournemouth for Europe for the first time in their history, so straight into the group stage of the Europa League. So with that in mind, I decided it was only fair to run a second season of the save and see just how far we can take this team. You'll see, looking at the media prediction here, that we are expected to come 8th. I think that's probably fair. We've done a lot of business over the summer, which I think has improved the squad somewhat. And yeah, I think 5th last season probably was exceeding expectations, but a top half finish is what the board wants this time round, and the media agree with us. We do have one player listed here in the Dream 11, which is Nathan Ake, who's in at left back for some reason. But yeah, he's regarded as the best left back available in the Premier League. I'm sure a couple of people like Chilwell and whatever might have something to say about that, but there we are. But will he be in the Dream 11 for long? So the reason I asked that about Nathan Ake is that you may remember at the end of last season there was a lot of interest in him already, with clubs like Man United and Barcelona showing interest. And throughout the course of the summer we fended off bids from the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, PSG, Bayern Munich, all of whom were offering kind of round about the same money in the sort of 35 to 45 million bracket, which I don't think is enough for a player of his quality. So we've been batting those back. He wasn't terribly happy about it, but finally, as you can see here, Inter Milan have come in with a bid of basically up to £68 million. Now, seeing as he's not very happy and really wants to take another step forward in his career, and they're coming in with that kind of money, then I think we're going to have to let him go. So we've accepted that bid, and negotiations are ongoing with his wages and whatever. We have lined up Eric Dyer to come in as a potential replacement. He's versatile in a different respect, really. Obviously he will probably mainly play as a centre-half if he comes in, but can also play in that defensive midfielder role, which leaves us a little bit short of cover on the left-hand side. But of course, if Ake goes, that will give us the funds to address that problem, I guess. But let's go and have a little look at the actual transfers that have gone through already, and you can see the business we've done over the summer. As you can see, we've done a fair amount of business so far. Now, let's start with the outs first to see where we've generated the funds. Adam Smith was subject to a very strong bid from Aston Villa, so considering he was, I think, 29 years old, and you know, probably our first choice right back, but not nailed on, a bid of £24 million for him was just too good to turn down. So he's moved on to Villa. Josh King, who, as you remember, hardly got a look in last season, was subject to a couple of bids, West Ham being the strongest of them, so I agreed to let him go there. So we might get £14 odd million for him in total. And the other player who's moved out for significant cash is Harry Arter, who of course was on loan all of last season and, you know, came back, wasn't good enough to be involved with the first team squad. We had quite a bit of interest, mostly from overseas, for him, and he's moved on to Trabzonspor. So overall, that generated us £42 million. We also generated a little bit extra in terms of wage budget, with the likes of Jermaine Defoe and Artur Boruc hitting the end of their contracts and moving out of the club. And that gave us the opportunity to bring in quite a few players. So the first one we've brought in, I'm sure will be familiar to quite a lot of you who've played the game, Gabriel Barbosa. He's a Brazilian. Now, he prefers to play as a striker, but I'm intending to use him out on the right hand side. Obviously Harry Wilson we don't have this season, so I'm looking at Barbosa to replace him, but to play more of an inside forward role rather than the inverted winger that Wilson was playing. So he's our biggest money signing. We brought in Carol Linetti from Sampdoria, a very, very good midfield option. Likes to play the box-to-box role and probably does it a little bit better than Lewis Cook does, who's more of a playmaker, but we were playing him box-to-box last season. So I think we're going to see a lot of Linetti this season. We brought in another centre-half, Nestor Araujo. He's a Mexican, so he'll get on pretty well with Gutierrez, I would hope. A very solid ball-playing defender, so he's going to play the kind of way that we like to play, and I think, yeah, he'll be a very good addition to the squad. Valentin Antov is a young Bulgarian, but with a lot of ability and bags of potential as well. So he prefers to play as a centre-back, again, another ball-playing defender, but can play that anchorman role in midfield, the defensive midfield role. So I think we're probably going to see a fair amount of him as we try and develop him through the season. Perhaps in some of the cup competitions, if we're up against weaker teams in the Europa League, he may get his opportunity there, and we'll certainly be seeing plenty of him from the bench and covering for injuries and fitness and the like. The last player we've brought in for money so far is this guy, Zeefuik, who we've brought in as a right back to replace Adam Smith. He's probably about the same sort of ability, I would guess, but he's only 22 years old, a little bit more potential to grow, and yeah, he's currently going to be our first choice right back as things stand. So he looks like a good prospect for us. The last player we've brought in, this time on loan, but with an option to sign at the end of the season, assuming he does well, is a big name for a team like Bournemouth. So Leandro Paredes comes in from PSG. He's valued at £43 million, which is a phenomenal amount of money. We have an option to buy for £40 million at the end of the season, but that's not really likely to be my problem because I don't think this is going to go into a third season. So he's a really good playmaker. He can play advanced playmaker or deep line playmaker. Can also play deep line playmaker in that defensive midfield role. So he's a very, very, very versatile option for us, and I think he'll bring us a lot next season. Of course, there's about 3 weeks left of the transfer window. That runs through to the end of August, and if a Nathan Ake transfer does go through, even bringing Dyer in to replace him will leave us some funds. So we might be looking to strengthen a couple of areas, possibly left back. We could probably do with someone in the goalkeeping position, because Begovic has come back from AC Milan and he's not really up to being the second choice keeper at this point. So so there could still be business to do. But let's go and have a look at the schedule and see how the season is going to start for us. So the fixture computer has given us a real mixed bag at the start of the season. We start today at home against Chelsea, who are clearly one of the better teams in the league, predicted to finish 4th. So that's a big test of where we're at right from the start. We then be given Norwich away, Manchester United at home, so that's another tricky game, and then Fulham away, before we get Burnley at home, and then our first European game, which I think will be what I'll bring you in the next episode. So let's go and have a look at the team lineup. You can see how the new signings slot into the squad and a couple of tweaks we've made, and we'll get through to the game against Chelsea. So we come into the game today with pretty much a clean bill of health in the squad. The only player who misses out today is Gutierrez. He's just got a slight knock and is only out for a couple of days, but not fit to take his place in the squad today. Obviously we've got quite a few of the new boys have made their way into the team, and you'll notice Nathan Ake is actually playing in spite of his potential move. It doesn't seem to have affected him mentally too much. I mean, his morale's a little low because we turned down some bids earlier in the summer for him, but I think he's our best left back option today, so we're going to give him a game and hope he doesn't get injured and scupper that move. So the team we got going out today: Ramsdale in goal, Nathan Ake at left back, Zeefuik at right back, new boy Araujo partners Chris Mepham in the centre of defence, Jefferson Lerma in the holding midfield role, Linetti and Paredes form a new partnership in central midfield, Ryan Fraser on the left, Gabriel Barbosa on the right, and Callum Wilson up front. On the bench today we have Begovic, Stacey, Rico, Antov, the new young Bulgarian lad, Lewis Cook, Jordan Ibe and Dominic Solanke. So let's get into the game and see what happens. So as always, the first game of the season is a bit of a tricky one to try and judge. Both teams have a number of new signings. I think principally for Chelsea, Ziyech. Oh goodness me. Less than 5 minutes on the clock and we're one down. Tammy Abraham, who's not a new signing. But they've brought in Ziyech. They've also brought in Tagliafico at left back, also from Ajax. I think that goalkeeper from Ramsdale really does show that we could probably do with a better keeper than him. He's got a lot of potential, but he didn't really seem to realise much of it in that first season. He didn't seem to grow an awful lot. His stats didn't seem to improve very much. So, that might be something to think about. I'm going to demand more. We're half an hour in. We've not had a shot or anything yet. Not been the greatest of games. Chelsea here, Willian with a free kick from about 40 yards out. Oh my goodness me, the marking there was terrible. Rudiger, unmarked at the back stick. And just a long, straightish ball from Willian. Yeah, Callum Wilson there let himself down, did not follow his man at all. And so we're 2-0 down. Now, I did kind of expect Chelsea to be a strong side, but I was hoping we'd perform a little bit better in the first half against them, to be honest. Only one shot in the whole half for us, and that wasn't worthy of a highlight. So I think we need to get in and have a strong old word with these guys. We owe Chelsea after what happened in our last match and what's happened in the first half, clearly. So let's see if we can get a bit of an improvement here. Let's straight away ask them to get creative. So we've had a couple more shots. Again, nothing really worthy of a highlight at this point. Coming up to the hour mark. Not a lot happening here. I think it's time to make a change. Linetti is having a very poor debut. He's on a 6.3. So I think he needs to come out, and we'll look at bringing Lewis Cook in there. Is there anything else that we can really change at this point? I mean, Ake's not having a great game. Do you know what? I think I will take him out. Maybe his mind is on his big move. Who knows? 20 minutes to go. We don't really look like we're offering an awful lot to get back into the game. So let's go to an attacking and show some passion and see if that makes any difference to how we're approaching the game. Not an awful lot. One last tactical roll of the dice. I think we're going to take Lerma out. We'll bring Barbosa up front where he likes to play. He wants to be an advanced forward, so maybe we'll drop Wilson back to a pressing forward, and then we'll bring Jordan Ibon on that right hand side instead of Lerma. He can play as an orthodox winger, which he prefers, and see if that makes any difference in these last 5 minutes. It doesn't seem to have done, and unfortunately our first game of the season we slipped to a 2-0 defeat at home. Well, I suppose the one positive we can take from that was that last season, in the final game, Chelsea came to Dean Court and won 3-0. And this time round, they've only won 2-0. So, you know, we'll take the positives where we can. I think what I'm going to do now is play through a few games, get past the end of the transfer window, see if we can do any more business with the funds from the Ake sale, assuming that goes through. And I'll bring you back for the first game of the Europa League group stage. We don't yet know who our opponents will be, but it's going to be an exciting night for Bournemouth as they get their first taste of European football in their history. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching the episode today. The result wasn't the best, but I think we've got an exciting season ahead. If you have enjoyed it, please consider dropping a like on there. Anything you can do to help me get seen by other people is always very welcome. If you've got any comments on the transfers we've made or any hints and tips for the season ahead, please comment below, and yeah, I'd love to see anything you've got to say about this episode or the series as a whole. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. There's a lot of good content coming through on the channel now with this Bournemouth save and my save with the Indian national football team. But finally, I'd just like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon for our first foray into Europe. Bye for now.